This is a Ryobi DC546 glue, or they call it a cordless adhesive gun. It basically allows you to use these larger tubes of construction adhesive. They give you like 3 times the amount of glue that you get out of the little tubes that work on a regular adhesive caulking gun sort of thing. Uses a standard XRP batteries, and it's a power tool. Obviously, uses the same electric motor you probably have in some of their drills, little gearbox to feed this out. And of the Dewalt tools, this is the one I least like. And the only reason I still use it is because it's the only game in town for the type of glue guns that use this stuff. You can get a manual glue gun, just a little hand cranky type of thing. It takes a lot of finger pressure to use, and it's actually not bad. If I hadn't gotten this thing used at a flea market, I would never buy one new. On the other hand, large construction outfits that are really trying to speed up jobs, it makes sense. One of the big shortcomings on this is that every once in a while, the glue tube will burst on the inside. So you gotta really keep an eye on the speed setting, which is a little thumb wheel underneath here. If you try to feed the glue too fast, it's going to become a problem. And what happens when the glue bursts on the inside, it gets into this gear mechanism, which you can't take it apart to clean it. Okay, there's no way to do that. You have to wrestle that tube out of the dispenser housing and then clean all the glue off those teeth, and you have to get at it quickly. So what happens is when you're through using one of these on a job, let's say a really quick short handyman job, like I'm fixing this fence here, and I'm trying to make it so that it has the old lumber look on the outside, but we're putting new lumber on the inside to reinforce it. The thing is, when I finish a job, I got to take this thing all apart to make absolutely certain there was no glue burst on the inside that would jam up the gears, because it becomes a major hassle to clean. There's a process by which it can be done, but like I said, it's a major hassle. The thing is, it's fast. You can push a lot of glue in a hurry, and it allows you to use these larger glue tubes, which are really, really economical if you can use the whole tube. Now, it's a matter of like a $2.50, $3 glue tube versus a $5 or $6 glue tube. But the $5 or $6 glue tube, using this thing, has 3 times as much stuff. Now, if I'm doing this for a customer or client or somebody I'm working for, I still charge them for the whole tube, because the partials on these are not always salvageable. Okay, so it's only an economy of scale when you're using the entire tube of glue. And when you're using the smaller tubes, you can actually go through them quickly on a project. The other thing is, this thing backs up a little bit to prevent the glue from squeegeeing out the tip all the time, but it doesn't work very well. You can see the overpressure. You got to watch where you set these things, or that glue is going to get all over the place. So the DC546, the only reason I give it anything remotely resembling a positive review is because nobody else makes a comparable unit that uses a battery system that I've adopted. This is a DC546. It's a Dewalt, they call it the Adhesive, heavy-duty cordless adhesive gun, part of the XRP product line. January 2013. I do not believe they have a 20-volt version of this yet. And what it basically is made for is these larger tubes of adhesive and sealer and caulking, but usually it's going to be for heavy-duty construction adhesive. A little bit unique to, let's say, the RV and manufactured home industry, where that kind of stuff has been used a whole lot. I use this a little bit. I use it a few times a year. It works good for wood gluing projects where precision isn't really as important as just having a really strong bond. The tool itself is what I call a dirty tool. As soon as you use this thing a couple of times, it's going to have the glue all over it. It's going to get dirty. It's going to stay dirty because the glue is extremely sticky. The other thing that's going to happen is the insides of the glue tubes will get a little bypass from the plunger. Invariably gets around on the tool. Sometimes you end up having to cut these things away to get that stuff out of there. Controls on this, there's two triggers and a locking thing right here. This is to prevent the trigger from going, let's say you leave it with a tube loaded and you put it in the toolbox. You don't want it brushing up against something and then dispensing a bunch of the glue around in the toolbox. That could straight ruin other equipment. So there's like a little safety mechanism to cut off. The upper trigger is to unlock or disconnect the gear mechanism, so you can push this back to get it out to reload another cartridge or remove the cartridge that's in there. There's a speed adjustment here where you can turn the speed down or turn the speed up. With its speed turned up all the way, that's as fast as it moves. It doesn't look very fast, but you've got to realize there's a lot of compound gear pressure happening inside of this, and at that rate of movement, it's shooting a lot of glue because, again, it's pressuring it out through this kind of funnel-like system. What you don't want to do, though, is run that too incredibly fast, because what will happen is you increase your chance of having some glue bypass there. Other than that, I don't believe there's any other user controls you'd really deal with. Just the two triggers, the speed adjustment, the little safety mechanism, the little plunger hold back. This thing turns, of course, and then there's a small bayonet for repuncturing these things. And a lot of times you got to puncture it the first time. The other thing is, because of the length of this, you end up having to cut, a fair amount off the tip of one of these to get it to go. You're not really going to be able to meter that out with a tiny little tip and still get at it with this bayonet thing. But as you could tell, cleaning becomes a real issue on this. That glue gets kind of embedded and stuck in. A lot of times you're going to end up cutting or sanding off the excess glue, prying it off with pliers. The big danger, of course, is when glue bypasses that, gets onto this gear mechanism, and then inside the gear mechanism here, which is just a big hassle to clean out. One of the shortcomings on that tool and every other one like it, and one of the reasons I give this 3 out of 5 stars.